think that's us. I think we're here. What's up, everybody? Becoming the Archetype. My name is Jason Wisdom. I'm the singer, bass player. If you don't know me by now, we've been doing this for like 20-something years. So that's a little introduction to us as a band. And we're going to listen to our new record. It's going to be sick, but you need to meet the other people first who have much cooler names than me in the chat here. So I'll pass it to the guy named Duck now, who's got his microphone muted.
I thought I unmuted it. I'm not really good at this. I'm Duck. I play drums, and I'm really excited to share this with you guys.
Yep. Hopefully you waited until now to listen to it. I'm just kidding. Please don't.
Yeah,
please
really
don't be that person.
For now.
Yeah, no spoilers, guys. As we go through, don't spoil it for everybody in case they haven't heard it. Although we assume that you guys have probably listened a dozen times and already gotten your tattoos.
This is the part where he dies.
Well, that's already a spoiler. Okay, so that's Jason and Duck. I'm Seth, also known as Count Seth, Lord of Death, to the really cool kids that are our listeners. And as you see in my chat thing, Pastor Seth, because that's what I go by in my church. And I play guitar and keyboards and do some of the singing vocals. And I also am stoked. This feels like a hot rod moment where it's like, you know, my name is so and so, and I like to party.
I like to party.
I definitely.
I also like this album. No, you definitely don't party.
You definitely.
I know for a fact that Seth. I know for a fact that Seth is not the Lord of Death.
No.
But yeah, so as I understand, we're going to listen to a few songs, and then we're going to stop, and then we're going to take questions on those songs, and then there will be a quiz on those songs.
Take notes.
Yeah, Seth has the syllabus, I believe, the link to the syllabus for this course, and at the end, you'll get a certificate for graduating this album. And you will be prepared to go on a trip to share it with other people at the front door.
So the way that we're going to listen is in chapters. So if you were able to see the liner notes in the CD or the vinyl, you will notice that the album is broken up into chapters. And so we'll listen one chapter at a time. And the first chapter is the first 3 tracks, right, Jason?
I hope so.
So let's go ahead and listen to those first 3 tracks then.
Yep. Now we're going to listen.
not forgotten. We have not forgotten. We are a part of the resistance. The underground insurgent remnant. We bear this burden through the ages. Beneath the surface, the war still rages on. They were the chosen ones. We have not forgotten. We are the only ones who refuse to let go.
Hey,
Yep.
that was good.
Who did
Hey,
that?
who wrote those songs? That was good music. We should listen more to those guys.
I'm a fan.
So we're glad that you guys joined us for those first 3 songs. That is chapter 1. and goes through the first 3 tracks. We got some good questions here that we will get to here in a moment, but I want to first say that I don't know if you guys noticed, but it is one of our listeners, Joshua Smith's birthday, and I think that we can do a very terrible version of Happy Birthday for him. So I'm just going to start singing, and you guys can join in, and it'll be at different tempos and different pitches, and we're going to sing it to Joshua, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
To you.
Happy birthday, dear Joshua. Happy birthday to
you. Yeah, you know, the problem here is now everyone's going to say it's their birthday. And
Nope,
that's
we're not singing it anymore.
That's all we're going to do.
No, we're doing no more birthdays. You just substitute your name in for Joshua if it is your birthday. So we did get some great questions, guys. So
make sure to keep them coming.
Yeah, keep them going. I'm going to monitor that, but I already jotted down some because teacher Jason told us to take notes. I wrote down some notes on a notepad. So, Jason, we did get a question from David Roche. How did you come up with the concept for the album? And since the lyrics are your purveyance and they are the ones that contain the concept for the album, why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Yes. So this is one of, actually, I think is the only BTA record where the lyrics came before the music, largely. I had an idea for a science fiction epic concept, and I wanted to go for the first time all the way down that road. Physics of Fire was our first record, or was the only record before this one that really had like a few songs that told a story. But with this one, I fleshed out a whole story and 10 songs worth. So yeah, spoiler alert, it's a science fiction story. There might be aliens. Might be. We haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, there's a spaceship that people have told us that when people have seen the album artwork that you might see flashing on the screen behind us, there's something that people say looks like a Pride Rock from the Lion King. Like, oh no, I ordered the wrong Lion King on wish.com. But it's it's actually a spaceship with some cool things happening. So yeah. Yeah, that's the concept of the record. That's where the lyrics came from. Any more brain busters?
Well, that was the main one. I think that you did a great job of explaining that and giving some people some insight on that. Duck, I want to throw a question to you if you're ready. Are you unmuted? Can you hear me?
You might be.
Go ahead and unmute yourself because I can't hear you. I don't want to throw you a question if I can't hear you.
Okay, now click that button again. Oh, this is a good prank. This is a good troll. People think he doesn't know how to get his microphone on. It's like the ultimate troll. It's 2022 and we don't know how to use Zoom yet.
No, Duck, we're not. We can't.
Okay, what's the question? And Duck, we'll try to figure that one out.
Well, I thought Duck would be a really good one for. I'll skip over that until he's.
Was it a question about how did you play the drums? Duck can field that question. Yes.
He can field lots of questions. Oh, there we go.
Hey!
Go, Duck.
All right, so Duck, we got a question from Sean Roycraft, who I'm sure you remember from all of our shows there in Missouri. What role does facial hair play in the band? So I think you're more well qualified than me, and probably more than Jason to answer that.
I concede.
I think it's just been like, somehow like a dream motivates you. Some of us achieved it really young and some of us really aspired to it. I think it was just like a common thread and motivating factor for all of us. I shaved for the first time with a razor when I was in the 7th grade. Mm-hmm. And I think, Seth, you shaved with a razor for the first time last month.
Yes.
And so we've all been to varying degrees, but we've all aspired to greatness. And facial hair was just something we all agreed on.
Yeah. It's
And
required.
it's also, yeah, it's always been a symbol of rugged masculinity, and some of us have that, and some of us pretend that.
And
And
some of us,
Duckett-
and some of us cover the fact that we don't have a chin by growing
Oh yeah,
the beard.
my
which
chin is actually right there.
Yeah, my chin is actually inside my mouth. Uh, I don't have one, so I grow the beard to create this optical illusion. Which is people ask. Sorry, Seth. I know you didn't have this question posed, but how do I do my vocals so amazingly? It's actually that my mouth is all of this area, but
And he puts the
anyway.
mic inside of there.
I love that no one asked him, but he had to say, like, no one asked how I do my vocals so amazingly, but lots of people are saying I do my vocals so amazingly.
I'm
How
not-
do you do it, Jason?
It's not me saying this, but many people have said, frankly. Anyway,
Hey, people are saying it.
all
People
right.
say things.
There's a lot more music to be had,
Yeah,
but we
well,
should
there's
probably
also-
give me another
There's also
question.
some- yeah, there's questions here. So I wanted to answer one from David Rosh. How do you write such tasty riffs? And I wanted to answer that with we have perfected our own recipe. So what you do is you want to start off with a nice lemon glaze, and you want to get that prepped and get it in the fridge first. And then what you do is then you go and you tenderize the meat. You might use a meat tenderizer, or you might stomp on it with your bare feet. And then you get that nice and tender, and you put a nice rub on it, and you bury it in the ground, put a fire over the top for a few days. Then you pull it out, and then you get that glaze on it, and then you got yourself a tasty riff. And so that, when you do all that properly, you're going to end up with people going, oh yes, very tasty indeed. So I hope that answers your question, David. I appreciate that question. We got another question about our influences from Paul Ort. So, Jason, you can take this one, but you might want to reference that playlist.
Yeah, actually, we do have a Spotify playlist with some of our influences, particularly for this record, with just some of the things we were listening to on this record. But our influences go back probably more specifically to like the late 90s, early 2000s, because I think that's when we sort of formed our identity as what we love musically. So a lot of the same things that we were drawing from when we wrote Terminate Damnation are our influences for this as well. Bands like Opeth and Extol and Living Sacrifice and Oingo Boingo, Five Iron Frenzy. That one's not even a joke. Like Five Iron Frenzy is a humongous influence on us. And they appeared on one of our records and have helped us promote this record. So big shout out to the folks in Five Iron. We influences big part of this, but we also wanted to make sure that this record sounded uniquely like BTA. So we tried to listen to ourselves a lot.
Yeah, we were a big influence on ourselves.
If you can't tell, we take ourselves really, really seriously. So
yeah,
there's a playlist. There's a playlist link in the chat now if you want to check out that playlist link. And so
sick.
Duck is taking selfies.
He's taking I think he's taking a picture of the link, and then he's gonna try to click the link in the photo so he can listen.
I'm just trying to get my mic to work.
All right. With that, I think we
hold
should.
on.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
One more question. Before we do chapter 2.
Who's in charge of this?
Sorry, man. I'm in charge here. So Albert Grove asked the question, how long to create the album? And that's an interesting question because
We really
years.
can't answer that.
Yeah, it's I've been telling people when we do interviews, we actually started talking all the way back in 2015. I don't know if you guys remember that. We had an email thread from 2015 where we started talking. So if you want to consider the beginning of the process, that it could be as far as 7 years ago. However, we didn't actually start writing until like 2019, and we didn't actually start like.
Well,
there you go. And we didn't start actually like getting together to work on that stuff together until 2020, and then the pandemic happened, and so we didn't start recording until 2021, and that was almost a year of recording, and then it was a while of mixing and notes and all that kind of stuff. So it just really depends on what you mean by how long it took, but I think in almost any case, the question
10
or
years.
the answer is a long time. Yeah.
It took 10 years. So here we are.
Yeah. So I think if you guys are cool, we are ready to do chapter 2, which is tracks 4, 5, and 6. So let's go ahead and listen to chapter 2 together.
from a gun. Space inside, come rushing back into focus. Tearing through the heavens with fervent heat, and finally crashing down into the ocean. Into the ocean.
Okay, yeah, that was chapter 2, tracks 4, 5, and 6, and we thank you for continuing through the album with us. We got a whole bunch of good questions, so I started with Jason last time, so let me throw one to Duck first this time. Duck, someone asked about something from the lyrics, and they would like to know. I think this is for their own personal safety. How does one guard themselves against trans-dimensional nanoparticle radiation? Afflicted asked that.
Why didn't you ask Jason that? You said these are in the lyrics. Let's ask the idiot drummer.
All right, Jason. How does one guard
If you
themselves?
would have been like,
I
hey,
think he did that on purpose.
hey, how hard are rocks? I'd be like, oh, they're pretty hard. And then they'd be like, thanks for your expert advice. But you're like, speaking of lyrics, let's ask you a weird question.
All right,
Yeah.
Jason, how do you?
Well, I have no idea, but I will say that one of the challenges, and that lyric sort of was like the ultimate epitome of one of the challenges of writing a concept album, because how do you tell particular parts of your narrative story without them sounding super corny? And the only answer I could come up with is to gurgle them really low in a metal voice. And then let's be real, trans-dimensional nanoparticle radiation, it's a pretty awesome lyric.
It just rolls off the tongue.
It sounds like something from Calvin and Hobbes. He makes his transmogrifiers and stuff like that. So I think that's like Spaceman Spiff stuff. From Calvin and Hobbes.
Perhaps.
So yeah. Okay. So
I do want to say real quick, shout out to the guy that doesn't like the album. I appreciate you hanging out and listening to this.
Wait, who said that?
This guy, it looks German. I don't know how to say that, but
It
to
looks
be honest,
German.
I don't enjoy this album. And it's like, well, man, I appreciate that. Thanks for
Okay.
hanging out.
Also, okay.
Well, that killed the whole vibe. Thanks, Duck.
It's okay. I appreciate him hanging out. Some people don't have room for things they don't love.
I actually think that's a good sign.
I do too. I think it's great.
So
I just want to say, man, I stinking love that last song. I loved recording it. I like listening to it.
I think it's a sleeper. It's a sleeper for one of my favorites on the record.
Yeah,
like I really
think it's
do.
a great song. I listened to a lot of Amon Amarth before I recorded that one, and I hope everyone likes it a lot. And it's got like 3 of my favorite parts.
Yep.
Go ahead.
We did have a question from someone about The Awakening. They said, how did you come up with the intro to that? I cried the first time I heard it.
You tell them the real answer to that when I asked you what your inspiration was, because your answer was so great.
Wait, what?
He doesn't remember.
You did. You asked me kind of what vibe was it. So
yeah, because I was like, I want to make sure that I'm on track with how you wrote this intro, and you were like,
yeah,
if I tell you it won't help, and I was like, just shoot, because I had like Amon Amarth and like Scandinavian like death metal, and you were like, well, it's not that.
So let me start out by saying my wife's into bluegrass, and so she has things like banjos and stuff around the house. So I started fiddling with the banjo like a good hillbilly.
You don't fiddle with a banjo.
You can fiddle with a banjo. I see them do it at bluegrass jams all the time. And so I started playing around, and I had that riff that came. That's the first thing, that whole thing. So I record that and send that out, and the song obviously develops into heavier stuff from there. But that was that intro, and Duck did send me an email or a text asking me sort of like what's the vibe here? What's in your head when you're playing this? I said, well, if you can imagine like Zen hillbillies, like this is the mixture between like hillbillies playing banjo and like Buddhist monks way up in the mountains like meditating. So this is it's a weird mashup that then what you do is you take that mashup and put it in space. So someone mentioned Firefly earlier, and that's a really good sort of fleshing out of that. It's like a space western, if you will, and that's kind of how that came into being.
Totally.
So we did have a question here. And Duck, if you need a moment to think about this, that's fine. But I wanted to get your input on one of these for Joshua Smith, birthday boy, asked, what is your dream tour lineup? So if you're ready to answer now, you can take that. But if you want a moment, I can move to another question and you can hop back in once you've got the answer for your dream tour lineup.
Is it like to see or to tour, like to be on? Like if I were to go to a really great show,
I would assume
could I answer
tour
that one?
lineup would be like what we would tour with. What would your dream lineup be to tour with? So if you need a moment, I'll throw one to Jason and I'll come back to you. Does that sound okay?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a fire alarm going off.
Sorry. Jason, David Rosh asked about your sci-fi influences. So obviously the lyrical theme is sci-fi.
Yes.
So what are some of your sci-fi influences?
I feel like it's been a long-standing BTA tradition to make homages to the C.S. Lewis space trilogy, which had a huge influence on me. Got me in love with that. When I was working on the story for this record, it was the beginning of 2020, and 2020 was when we were supposed to get Dune, the movie Dune, and then it got delayed till 2021. So that means my lyrics came before the movie, which doesn't matter because the book was written in like 1960.
You were cool before Dune came out.
So I actually reread the original Frank Herbert book, and really, I was having a big C.S. Lewis and Frank Herbert moment there, writing some of the lyrics. So yeah.
Man, this guy reads. He's a nerd. Speaking of nerds, we have a nerd question in a minute, but first I want to hear Duck's dream tour lineup if he's ready for it.
Man, it'd be really hard. We really had the ability to tour with so many great bands, and if I could just smash some of them together and like make one tour out of it, that would have been really cool. Like we literally shared the stage with almost every one of our heroes. Like when we started this band, like we were always like, oh, Extol's got a new song out. Like we went to the mall and bought that sampler to get Extol's new song that one time.
The sampler, yes.
And we got to tour with them. And then we got to tour with Zayo, and we got to tour with Living Sacrifice, and we got to tour with
the Showdown.
Like everybody, and we toured with the Showdown. Anyway,
legends.
If we could tour and like put a list together, it would probably just be bands we already toured with, but like put them all together. Like, and I never got to see Embodiment when they were in their Embrace the Eternal days, so I just add that in there.
But we did tour with the Famine.
We did tour with the Famine, and I listened to their records so very much.
Yeah.
Literally to this very like week, I've listened to the Famine. So probably the Famine. Probably just Embodiment, just for the sake of I've loved it for probably 20 years now. And Living Sacrifice, which is probably one of my favorite bands that's ever been. Mm-hmm. And Extol, if we could get them all together. If you guys just want to come stay at my house, we'll just play one show here in my backyard, and I think everyone would really enjoy that.
What I hear you saying is that the most fun tour for you would be one where you get to also be a fan and watch
Oh, absolutely.
your favorite bands again. And
I mean,
I would
yeah,
agree
and
with that 100%. Although my choices would be like the OC Supertones and
Supertones, Strike
Well, and
Back,
I'll-
Ear Supertones.
Heck
I mean,
yeah.
Garth Brooks doesn't generally have a death metal band open for him, but I would
he
love
could do it.
to be
He
a
could do
part
it.
of that.
Brooks. Five Iron Frenzy,
Uh,
Quantity is Job One era band.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And it was funny, you know, like we did get to tour with Living Sacrifice, but Lance had just pretty much cut his thumb off. And so someone filled in, which ironically was one of my other favorite drummers, but I'd like a fair shake at touring with them as a whole.
Duck, you got to play a
and then-
song with
and then
Living
maybe the Advent.
Sacrifice.
You know what I did? And I found that set list the other day. And I remember being so nervous that like I wanted to throw up. But once the song started, I felt like I was doing the right thing, I guess, at the time. And
Once the
Lance
song
doing
started,
it. You're doing
Once
it,
the song-
Peter.
yeah,
once the
and
song
then I
started,
remember,
you just like fainted. Yeah, it was great.
and then I passed out. And when I came to, everybody said that was a good try. But I saw someone filming it, and I haven't been able to find that video.
Oh, man.
I would give hundreds of dollars to find that video because I think it would be really funny
Oh,
to
man.
know how that actually turned out. But they,
Cool.
yeah, and maybe Advent. I'd like
Let's
to
do-
add them because
Let's do like one more question for this segment. What do you think?
Sure. Someone
Sure.
did ask, and so I'm going to field the question, but then I'm going to turn it around on you guys because Nicholas Peters asked, would you consider doing an all classical guitar album? And if it's up to me, the answer is yes, but it's not a solo project. So I'm guessing you dweebs are going to say no because you have.
Wait, what was the
good
question? I'm
sense.
sorry. I was reading
Uh,
something. I saw hope deferred, and then I got excited. What was it?
Nicholas Peters asked, would you consider doing an all classical guitar album?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I would love to sit in the room while you did something and got all the glory. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, I think
That's
that
the right
would,
answer.
that would render the vocals and drums pretty back burner. But I wonder if we could do something. I think it'd be kind of a fun thing to do something like that. We did a remix EP that was kind of fun, and I think we could do something at some point, but it's not imminent.
Yeah, Duck heard that for the first time like yesterday.
Yeah, I was like, "What is this?" And then I was
So
like,
for
"That's pretty rad."
for anybody else who doesn't know, there's some cool remixes out there of BTA songs that
It's called
Duck actually was a part of on
Yep.
that. So anyway, yeah,
It's remixes of songs from Celestial Completion, and the remix EP is called Celestial Progression, and it's digital only, just like Necrotizing Fasciitis and just like Oh Holy Night, our Christmas song. So you can hear all
Yes.
those online, but you cannot own physical copies of them.
Speaking of, because there's going to be no other reason to mention "Oh Holy Night" before we go to the next two songs. I think can't recall where we're at. Thank you so much to everyone who sends me messages every Christmas congratulating me on the "Oh Holy Night" song. But I was not in the band when that song was recorded,
Yeah.
and Chris McCain did a wonderful job, as did Chris Heaton on the drums.
Oh, okay. Actually, hold on.
Or
Chris
was it
Heaton
Chris?
I
actually
can't-
was not on the drums. What's weird is that the drums on that song are by Michael McClellan. That was the only
right, you're
thing
right.
he recorded with us, and he was only in the band for like a few months, and he now plays in the band 68
He
with
does
Josh
not
Scoggin.
anymore. He does not anymore. People in the
Oh.
comments are going to tear you apart for that.
Oh,
But
whoops.
he did
he
play.
was in the
He
band.
did play with
68.
68 when they started, and he's an awesome drummer and a great guy. So anyway, that's totally unrelated. We should listen to more of this record because it's great.
So here's
I haven't
chapter
listened
3.
to that either.
Chapter 3.
Thank saw, yeah. Apprehended by monstrous flaws, skin like feathers caging mine. Nebulous reach, outstretched arms, protruding veins, dripping blood. Sail across the blackened sea, through the village of the living things. Hollow eyes transfixed on me, the silent symphony. Standing in the ruins, a world forsaken. The empty faces of hollow creatures, longing to awaken, longing to awaken. Death comes for everyone. It's in the water. It's in the air. Step is a loaded gun. Every breath is a prayer. Their bodies crumble at the slightest contact. Few have managed to survive in this endeavor just to stay intact, completely hollow inside. I cannot comprehend what my eyes have seen. Are these not children of men I was sent to redeem? Standing in the ruins, a world forsaken. Death comes for everyone. Death comes for everyone. It's in the water. It's in the air. Step is a loaded every step is a loaded gun. Every breath is a prayer. Welcome to the world of dead men. Dead men. Welcome to the world of dead men. Dead men. A thousand years have passed after the lights are black. A curse red quickly through the masses. Infernal attack. The angel of death kept us alive. We crumbled in his hands beneath his watchful eye. There was no way to escape. Prognosis coming out. He descended like fire from the heavens, like a bolt of lightning from the sky. We crossed an ocean of death to reclaim it. Welcome to the world of dead men.
All right, we're back. That was chapter 3.
Man,
Tracks
yeah.
7, 8, and 9.
that's a heavy group of songs.
As we said when we were making Dichotomy, we put on the weight so that the songs would sound super heavy, and I think that we
Yes.
had lots of weight while we were writing and recording those.
Yes, Duck lifts weights. I just gain weight, and Seth is tall, so he's always sneakily heavier than you realize because he's very tall. He's over the limit of how tall you're allowed to be in a band, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah.
might be. Okay, so we did get some good questions here. Let's. I'm going to start with the question from Hell Hath No Fury at All. I'm going to send this to Jason. He asks, "Is In the Water referencing Wormwood?" And then also connected to that, since those vocals are done by Ryan Clark, a few people asked what it was like working with Ryan Clark. So if you want to go into sort of our history with him and his vocal spots.
Yes, so there is a little bit of a Wormwood reference there, but it's sort of a twist on that in a way. I don't want to totally give away all of. I mean, I know people obviously have listened this far through the record, but I think digging into the lyrics is something I really want people to do, and I think that once you get to know the main character and what's happening, that those lyrics make a whole lot more sense. Yes, there is a reference to that, and the water being a source of life and then being poisoned and cursed, and then having to find another source is a huge theme. Ryan did the guest vocals over one of my favorite things that is on the record. There's this cool, like, cinematic, like tribal drum thing that's going on. It's really cool. Yeah, this is the third time Ryan's done guest vocals on a BTA record. He's sort of the guy responsible for discovering this band and bringing it to you people. Otherwise, we may have just been, a band that played the side stage at Cornerstone and went home, and that was the end of it. But he saw us play on the side stage at Cornerstone and thought it was cool enough to talk to us about. And here we are, like 15, 16 years later, or maybe more than that. Anyway, so first album, he was on a song called Elegy, and he was screaming. He was doing the Ryan Clark screaming thing. Then he came back for a guest vocal on the third record, Dichotomy. And I was just like, you know what? Let's have Ryan do a bunch of clean harmony vocals. And so this record was sort of maybe more of a throwback to his Dichotomy appearance. I'm doing all the screams. Somebody asked that question, is Ryan doing any screams on this song? But no, Ryan did all the clean stuff in that song, and I was doing all the big nasties. So, yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. A guy named Liam Karst asked, what was your favorite track to record or work on? And Duck, if you have an answer to that, I would love to throw that one to you next. I mean, Jason, if you have an answer as well, you can answer after him. But Duck, if you got your favorite track to sort of work on and record. You might be muted.
You're muted. Grandpa Duckett.
No.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Favorite
man,
song.
I'll tell you what was the most frustrating song was The Ruin.
That's not the question.
I know, but I'm gonna just like work back from there. The Ruin was really hard because there's this new, well, it's not new anymore. I feel like an old fart saying that, but this new like gent thing where basically just a guy tap dances on his kick drum pedal and a guy just goes bam, 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 bam. There was so many gallops for me to double and like match up with that I couldn't remember what order they would, and I could not make my legs do it the right way. And so I was like refused to leave the room before I got it right, but I felt like I was going to die in there.
Duck normally only plays AC/DC beats. Just straight four on the floor. That's all Duck. Duck has not been known for his polyrhythmic chops over the last 20 years. That's not what you people came here for.
I want to play like sextuplets under just quarter note hi-hats.
I'm joking, of course. And since this isn't live, we can edit out this part.
Oh,
No.
we'll totally
Okay,
edit
no,
that
I'm kidding.
out.
I'm kidding. Now, what was your
Um,
favorite to record though?
I don't. I don't know. I love. Gosh,
Seth, you got one?
I mean, I personally really liked playing the Phantom Field because that was like that was all me. So.
I love the
Boo.
drums. The drum solo track was so good.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, I just I also really liked a lot of the stuff we did on the Sacrament, which is the next song, and it's chapter 4 of the
Oh,
album, and I
man.
really did like a lot of the symphonic stuff we did there and
Yeah.
piano stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I
That
really
was
liked
gonna
that.
be a potential pick of mine because I'm really looking forward to hearing that one again. But I think the Hollow is actually my favorite one, just
Yeah.
because I've never written a song with vocals that are just like a big anthem kind of like sing along thing for any BTA stuff before. I mean, usually that's not something we've done, and that song's kind of got just a big sing along, which I really enjoyed experimenting with vocally. But then it's also got just like tons of crazy fast gurgly
Yeah.
vocals and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the Hollow was fun vocally, I think probably for both of us because I love doing the channeling Coldplay, getting all that cool vibe.
People would be really disappointed if they knew, or really happy if they knew how many times we referenced Coldplay with regard to riffs on this record. There was the chorus in The Remnant, has the clocks drum beat kind of accent thing. Duck is like, no, it doesn't. No, it does not. That is a
It's
metal.
so funny that
thing.
we said that at church the other day. Somebody was like, "Can you do the Coldplay beat underneath this?" And everyone immediately knew what they were talking about.
From clocks, yeah.
Now they have several songs, from what I understand, and they only play that beat the one time.
Three or four tunes.
From what I understand, Coldplay has more than one song.
But that's the one people know.
They're a new up and coming band. I really think they're gonna make it.
The Coldplays.
I did want to say Sacrament. I think I had the most fun arranging. I have a notebook actually on this little shelf behind me of Jason and I actually got to work on this together in a way that no one else got to. He would come to my house and just sit next to me while I was on the drums. And we would just pick each song apart section by section. And I would go, okay, this is what I hear. What do you hear? And he would be like, well, I was thinking we would basically remove the entire song and rearrange it. And then you play this thing, and then we'll write something that fits in there. And let's make this just as weird as some of the stuff we used to do. So, and it was really fun sitting next to each other during Sacrament and go, okay, how can we make this? If you take the drums out, it's actually a very straightforward, very like, it could just be like what do we call it? Like almost like a movie soundtrack. But we were like, let's add some like black metal elements to it.
Yeah.
Let's add some like deep depth and heaviness to it. And it was so much fun to take those parts and say, okay, what can we do? And it goes, all right, so this part that's actually big and open, instead of playing it big and open, can you play a grind blast underneath that?
Yeah.
And we'll add some symphonic elements. And that brought in some stuff like Emperor would play. And I just really like that kind of black metal. And so it gave us the ability to incorporate some stuff that we haven't had the ability to incorporate before.
Right.
At least in a really clean.
We did a little bit of
way.
We did a little bit of that on Celestial Completion on the Requiem Aeternum, the part 2.
Oh my gosh. And those are my favorite songs. Gosh, I'm just blanking on the song titles, but man, I just had such a fun time writing for this record. So
yeah.
Yep.
The parts where the drums are hard, guys, those are my favorite ones.
Well, with this one, the last song, I mean, we're kind of taking a lot of extra time to set up this last song, but I do think that like it for all of us, it was a really special song. It was one of Seth. You can give us some information on this. I feel like it was the last track you guys wrote. You and Nate were sort of working on riffs, and
so the beginning part, the bum bum ba-na-na-na-na-na-na of this song coming up, was actually I wrote those string parts on the GarageBand app on my iPad. So that's how lame of a process that was. And then sent that over, and then I went into a totally different riff that's not where the song ended up going, but I sent that over to
Thank
Nate.
goodness. If anyone remembers that riff.
Nate and I had fun sort of working on where that could go afterward. He did a really good job coming up with that next heavy riff that comes in. And
Yeah.
so that was a lot of fun going together there. But I'm excited about going into this, and I think it's about time for us to do chapter 4, which is track 10, right, guys?
Yep, the Sacraments, last
Yeah.
song.
Do it.
Enjoy.
It's a long one.
you. This death will not defy you. Rise, renew. Extract the water from the body. Drink, consume. Absorb the life within the blood. Move, regain. New life to earn and make the flesh. Go and reclaim the planet. Focus life in our shadows rage. He exposed the inner forces. dreadful strife. The day that life and death contended, the victory remained with life. The reign of death was ended. The ancient writing plainly says, death is swallowed up in death. Now its sting is lost forever. Now its sting is lost forever. Rise, renew, extract the water from the body. Drink, consume, absorb the life within the blood. Move, regain, new life to earn and make the feel. Go and reclaim the planet. Go and reclaim the planet. Go and reclaim the planet. Go and reclaim the planet.
All right, that was the last track of the album, chapter 4. And it got its own chapter. It's there was a different chapter for 3 songs, and then 3 songs, and then 3 songs, and now the final chapter of 1 song. But it's because it's a tradition of ours. Not only is track 5 usually instrumental, but the last track of the album is usually the longest song of the album, and often 10 plus minutes, if not maybe 8 plus minutes. We had an observation by Paul Ort in the chat about the imagery that goes on in the lyrics of this song. He said it almost is like an extreme form of transubstantiation. So I want to speak to that for a moment, because I do know that for those of you who are not familiar with the term transubstantiation, Jason and Duck and I are Christians, and we part of Christian praxis is to take communion every once in a while with our congregations, with our church family. And as a pastor, I actually preside over communion every Sunday. And my tradition, we as Lutherans, we don't have the doctrine of transubstantiation. That's a Catholic doctrine. We have consubstantiation, which is very similar, but basically the idea is that you're eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Jesus Christ. And there's a band we like called Blaster the Rocket Man that goes into kind of has some fun with that idea of us being vampires, drinking the blood of Christ, or being zombies who are eating the flesh of Christ. And I've used that imagery when talking about communion before. But I know that was in Jason's head as he was writing some of the lyrics for this. So I wanted to sort of kick that over to you, Jason, to sort of flesh that out a little bit more.
Oh, I see what you did there. Flesh it out. So the chanting is actually taken from a Latin communion hymn or mass, like a Latin communion chant there. And there's some other some hymnology, like some stuff that's put into that song lyrically. So yeah, I mean, the album comes together ultimately with this portrait of sacrifice one for another, and the communion in that sacrifice, and in this case represented in the water, more so than the blood, but water also has a very significant play. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit goes a little bit to the Dune thing that I was on a big kick with, but yeah, I mean, the song's called The Sacrament, so I think that sort of speaks for itself. And I would say that the image of the album cover, if anyone hasn't put it together, is basically the climax of that song. So that's kind of where it's coming from. So yeah, before we wrap up, I do want to take a chance personally to say thank you to everyone who listened and stuck around for the chat and stuff. That was cool. We may have other questions. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget to say thank you to everyone. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the principle there at the climax of that story is one that's important not just to people of a Christian faith persuasion, but I think it's kind of a foundational principle of life, that nothing good happens without sacrifice, right? Even if you're just talking in practical terms, if you want to gain a skill, you don't gain the skill unless you sacrifice time and energy and put in the sweat equity to learn to play drums or play baseball or cook or whatever, there's sacrifice involved in anything good that happens. And so that image at the climax of those lyrics of the story that you wrote, Jason, where one character sort of pays the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of the other creatures around him is pretty fantastic. And I think that resonates and tracks with our experience as humans on Earth. The whole album ends up being 10 tracks like some of our other albums, and about the same length as our other albums. And I posted today that someone had asked about shirts, and we will have some other shirts eventually, but we did just post today reprinting the Terminate Damnation album artwork shirts, because today is the 17th anniversary of that album coming out. And it's a little bit, it's a little bit of a similar style to this new album art. People were noticing the mirror image of like the sort of Pride Rock looking thing with the spacecraft crashed on there, with Terminate Damnation's like that big sort of angel of death
kind of thing.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of neat. And
we like the Lion King.
We like the Lion King.
I mean, we do.
Our hope is that the art will enhance the music, and that the lyrics will enhance the music, and that you'll find meaning in your whole experience with this, visually and lyrically and auditorily, audioly,
orally. No,
that is the correct term.
Orally.
AUR. Oh, good grief.
We need to get off here.
So why don't we do a quick sign off? I appreciate you saying thanks earlier, Jason. So you want to wrap up your farewell, and we'll all sign off. And Duck, you can go next.
Yeah, super huge thanks to anyone who's checked out the record so far. I've actually been overwhelmed by how many people, people checked out the singles, but like the influx of people going and listening through the whole album has been amazing. And that's shown by the people who stayed on here. They're certainly not on here to look at my ugly face. But yeah, I mean, it was a really long process, but I don't think it was difficult, and I don't think it was painful. I think we enjoyed it. I think it happened fairly organically in a way that's similar to how we've written other stuff in the past. So yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you'll check out the record. There's somebody I saw in the chat that said they just went ahead and bought the record so they can listen to it at work and get familiar with it. I'm going to be honest. I actually think that, I mean, I don't know about Seth, but based on what he just said a minute ago, I think he might have had a similar experience to what I had, which is like, I haven't listened to the whole album in a little while. I mean, it's maybe been a week or two. And then, I don't know, I sort of had a little moment there during that last song. It was pretty powerful for me, even to listen to again, and to, feel the full weight of all the themes that are going on. So, yeah, hopefully you get the same vibe from that. And yeah, people are asking, Seth, tour, question mark. All I can say is it'd be cool. It'd be cool to play some shows, right?
It would really be cool.
It'd be fun. We love that idea. So we'll keep you posted. And that's all I got to say. Seth, you're up.
Well, guys, thanks for logging in and listening. I enjoyed hanging out with you, and you'll see plenty of more interaction coming on all of our social media pages and whatnot, interviews and whatnot. And we are really gratified to see all of you here sticking throughout the whole thing. The numbers haven't gone down even till now. So yeah, we appreciate you guys.
What are you people doing?
They have nothing better to
Go
do.
play video games.
All right. So
Just
I'm
kidding.
out. Go ahead, Duck.
Yeah, get your priorities in order. Good
Yeah.
grief.
Go play video games.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you for being a part of this. It's been neat. I mean, people are dropping like flies now that Jason's done talking. I'm so
happens.
proud of this record, and I am excited to be a part of it. I'm excited. I mean, Jason and I started doing this when I was 15 years old, and I am now 38. Like, that's incredible that like people give a crap about this now. And I think this is some of our best stuff. So I'm really excited. I'm honored that people stayed up 2 hours past my bedtime to listen to this. And I hope you guys have a good evening. And I hope that if we didn't answer your question, that you take it out on someone else.
Yep.
And that's
So,
all.
Rock on. Thanks to Solid State Records for doing this and putting it together and being
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Thank you for Solid State.
Yep. Good idea there,
It
Doug.
was my childhood dream to be a part of Solid State. And we did it.
Yep. We made it, Mom.
Well, take care, guys. Have a